Hi, my name's Baz Kinder and I'm from Wellington PPM. We're Microsoft Gold partners specialising in project and portfolio management, and we've also got a silver competency in learning. Today we'll be looking at Microsoft Project Server 2010, and specifically we'll be focusing in on project prioritization and analysis. Before doing that, let's have a look at the evolution of Microsoft Project. So back in 1987, Microsoft released the desktop scheduling tool, and at that time it was primarily geared towards individual project managers. As organizations have grown in maturity, as more and more people have wanted visibility of what's happening on projects, and as the need to collaborate on projects has come about, Microsoft released Project Server. So we're currently on version 2010, which is the 5th release, so it's quite a mature solution. It's not just me saying that, these are all server findings of Gartner. In this year's MarketScape 2011 report, where they look at all of the leading players in the project and portfolio management space, they gave Microsoft Project Server 2010 a strong positive rating. Now, the thing that sets Microsoft apart from some of the other vendors in the strong positive category are that Microsoft are the only suppliers that allow you to deploy their solution either in-house, using your own architecture, or to deploy it as software as a service, whilst everyone else in the strong positive category only allows you to deploy their solution as software as a service, hence tying you in either to monthly contracts or annual contracts. Looking at some of the quotes from Gartner, they also say that Project Server 2010 is a landmark release for Microsoft because it's in this release in which they include SharePoint 2010 as a foundation for things such as workflow, document management and collaboration. They also comment on the fact that Microsoft's licensing is very cost competitive. Let's have a look at the overview of Microsoft Project 2010 and have a look at the components that make up the solution set. So centrally you have Microsoft Project Server 2010. Now that's really a central repository for all project related information, whether that's your project schedules, your enterprise resource pool, templates, anything project related, it's held within Project Server. On a day-to-day basis to interact, most users will use what is known as Project Web App, shortened down to PWA. Depending on what group you belong to, whether you're an executive, project manager or resource manager, you all go to exactly the same URL. However, thanks to security trimming, you can control not only what people see, but also what people can do within PWA. So you might determine that the only group allowed to see the resource center, for example, are the resource managers. Now, whilst within PWA, project managers can do some light project scheduling, they would probably prefer to use Project Professional 2010 as that offers more functionality. Now, there is a breakdown of functionality available on the web. If you would like it, then please contact us at Wellington PPM and we can send you that document. Last but not least, you can also integrate Project Server 2010 with other Microsoft solutions as well as other line of business systems. Drilling down further into Project Server 2010, you can see that there are two components that make up the actual solution itself. Before I go into more detail about the actual components, let me just make it clear that not every organization will deploy, first of all, both components, or secondly, every piece of functionality that's available within Project Server. It's always configured and scaled to match the environment. Let's have a look now at a very high level at the two components. The first one is concerned with top-down portfolio management. This is where projects are proposed, it's where business cases can be built, and it's where projects can then ultimately be prioritized and either approved or rejected based upon whether or not they align to corporate strategy and what kind of return on investment they will provide. The second component is concerned with bottom-up project management or project execution. It's where you would do your day-to-day project management activities of project scheduling, resource management, reporting, and so on. Here we see the findings of a survey that was published by the Center for Business Practices. So they went out and spoke to a range of organizations ranging from SMEs right the way to large multinationals to identify from them what their biggest pain points were in relation to project management. Quite a few pain points were identified, but the pain point I'd like to discuss today is too many of the wrong projects. Now, from our own experience with a number of organizations, project selection can be quite subjective. The projects that tend to get approved are those that belong to the loudest project sponsor, that's even if a business case doesn't exist. But things really have to change, especially in the current climate. When budgets are being cut, organizations need to stop wising up on how projects are selected and approved. It needs to be an objective process whereby projects are selected based upon how they align with corporate strategy and where they deliver some form of return on investment. Moving on, let's have a look at project selection and analysis with Microsoft Project Server 2010. Project Server 2010 provides a new demand management module to capture all work from simple tasks to complex projects and programs, so it enables a flexible approach to project capture and initiation. All new requests can also be tied in with enterprise project types, which are essentially templates, and they can contain everything from custom workflows, project plans loaded with generic resources, to custom workspaces and more. Through these templates, you can start to standardize data collection through highly configurable business case forms to collect any type of information you need, including things such as project information, cost estimates, strategic alignment, assessments, and so forth. And by using the workflows, you can also enhance governance. And as demonstrated on the image in front of you right now, depending on what template is used, a specific workflow is initiated. I'll actually be covering enterprise project types and workflows in a separate video, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Wellington PPM, to keep posted on that. Going back to portfolio analysis, one of the things that we'll see in the demo shortly is that within Project Server, organizations identify their key business drivers and executives then prioritize them. Now, by going through this process, you start to reach consensus and agreement. Once you've finalized your drivers into sets, you can then start to prioritize projects from multiple dimensions, including things such as strategic value, financial value, and even risk. You can also create multiple what-if scenarios to see which portfolio would deliver the best value. And again, that's something that we'll see shortly in the demo. So just before I delve into the live demo, let me give you a quick rundown of what we'll be seeing today. So as step one, I will be starting a brand new project and I'll show you how easy it is to start building the business case. Once the project then goes through to portfolio analysis, we will use a number of dimensions to start prioritizing the portfolio. So here we are now in the PWA Project Web App homepage. What we have here on the left hand side is a quick access tool menu. So what I see up there is the project center, which is where I would go to view a centralized view of all the projects. This is where I can view all of my work that's been assigned. This is where, as a resource manager, I could come and view all the resources in the resource center. One of the areas that we will be looking at today is the strategy section, which is where you prioritize your projects. Another section available is the Business Intelligence Center, where you go in, view various dashboards and what have you. I'm logged in as an administrator, so I can also see all of the settings. Now, thanks to security trimming, if I had logged in, let's say purely as a team member, then the only option available to me might be my work. In the central area of the screen, we have a reminder section. So this is something that every single user will see every time they log in. So here I can see any tasks that have been assigned to me, any timesheets that I ever need to submit or review, any approvals, status reports, and issues and risks that have been assigned to me to look after as well. Being based on SharePoint, I can also modify this page, and I can add, remove, or personalize web parts. Right now, let's go into the Project Center. I'm currently viewing all projects by phase. You can set up a multiple views, and a very popular view is actually a KPI view, whereby you can view red, amber, green indicators against various metrics within the projects themselves. But within the view that I currently have, we can see all of the phases within the workflow that we currently have in operation. It's got a create phase, select, plan, and manage. Within each one of the phases, we have various stages, and I've actually minimized them here, but I can expand out just to give you more of an indication as to what is happening. What I want to do right now is start a brand new project using an enterprise project type template. So if I click new, I'm presented with a list of all the enterprise project type templates that are available for me to use. Within your organization, you can have as many as you like. There's really no limit, and quite often you will find that departments have multiple templates available for them to use depending on the type of project that they're about to embark on. Right now, I will use a software development template. So here we are now in the proposal request form, and what I need to do first of all is give the project a name. As I'm doing this, let me just explain that this page is completely configurable. Whatever fields you want to have in place, whatever information you want to capture at this stage, you can do that. Let me give this a description. I just call it ABC. Very easy. Project department. Let's say that this project belongs to IT, and we'll leave the owner. So if I hit save, what we'll see here on the top right hand side is a status indicator telling me exactly what's happening in the background. Now that the project's been initiated, I'm presented with this more detailed page which explains to me exactly where I am in the workflow with the project that I've just created. So right now, if you look at this diagram along the top, I'm at the initiate checkpoint. If I scroll down, we can get a bit more of a breakdown as to exactly where we are and what the situation is. So right now I'm in workflow phase 1, which is create, and I'm at stage 1. So this is the initial review and it's currently in progress and I'm awaiting approval. So once an executive or a decision maker approves that, I'll then go to the next stage, which is where I can start defining the project's business case itself. If I scroll up, you'll notice under example project, at the moment there's only project initiation showing, and that is a link to the page that I've just populated a few seconds ago, where I put in the project name, a brief description, and so on. What I'll actually do at this stage is I'll actually cheat, so I'm going to close out of this project to select a project that's further down the workflow. But if I come back to the project center, you'll see the example project, the one that we've just created, is listed there under workflow phase 1, create, and we're currently at stage 1, initial review. So if I scroll down now, let's go to phase 2, select, and let's select this particular project here, the ECRM solution project. And straight away what you'll notice is that there are now more forms available for me to view and complete. And if we look at this diagram here, in the previous project we were in the initiate checkpoint stage. Right now we're at the select checkpoint, and if I scroll down and expand the all workflow stages, you'll notice that everything within phase 1 has been completed, and I'm currently now in phase 2, the select checkpoint. If I scroll back up, let me click on one of the other pages that I'd like to show you, which is strategic impact. So within this page we see a list of all the business drivers that have been identified by the business, and they are shown here on the left hand side. So we've got expanding into new marketing segments, improving customer satisfaction score, improving employee satisfaction, and so forth. And in total we have 7 drivers identified. And what we have here on the right hand side is a rating against each one of these drivers. So how does the project relate to each of these drivers? So for expanding into new marketing segments, we can see that this project relates strongly. And if we look at improving customer satisfaction score, we can see that this relates to an extreme level to that particular driver. I won't show you the other pages, but they are your standard business case forms that have been completed. One which depicts cost and benefit, and another one which is a risk evaluation. If I close out for now, we go back to the project center. But right now, let's move into the strategy section and start having a look at portfolio analysis. So within the strategy section, the very first page you see is the driver library. Here we have a list of the 7 drivers that have been identified by the business so far. So if I click into one of them, so this is expanding into new marketing segments, we can see that it's been given a name, a description. If I scroll down, you can see how the project impact statements have been defined. If I close out, to add a new driver, you would simply go to new, and you would complete the same page. Within any organization, it's recommended that you have a minimum of 5 drivers and no more than 12. The next section is driver prioritization. Here we see various sets of driver prioritizations that have been pulled together. So we see that the CIO has a prioritization set, COO, and so forth. If I click into the CIO prioritization, we see how the drivers have been ranked by this specific individual. So increasing market share in existing markets is of very high importance, whereas improving employee satisfaction is of very low importance. And if I go into the previous screen, which is prioritize drivers, here we use pairwise analysis to prioritize the drivers. So expanding into new marketing segments, we can see is more important than improving customer satisfaction score. And expanding into new marketing segments is much more important than improving employee satisfaction. In order to change our ranking, we simply click on the driver and we can select whichever one is appropriate. If I close out, to create a brand new set, you simply click on new, give the set of drivers a name and a description. You can also assign them to a particular department, and you select which drivers you want to include in your set. So you don't have to include all of them. If we close out, the next page that we go to is portfolio analysis itself. And here we can see an example portfolio analysis has already been set up. So if I click into that, we'll see the form that's been completed in order to set this up. So we've got the name of that particular analysis, and various other fields have also been completed. Here we can see that the prioritization type is using the executive consensus set of drivers. We can also see which projects have been selected to take part within this particular analysis. So we've grouped the projects initially by the workflow phase, and then we've included all of the projects that are currently in the select phase. And here we can see the total cost is being used as the primary cost constraint. There are various other attributes as well that you can complete, but we're not going to go into that much detail today. If I click on the next page, which is review priorities, we see all the projects prioritized based upon how they relate to each of the business drivers. So we can see that the production tracking dashboard project is fairly high priority, whilst the apparel ERP upgrade project is a very low priority. Next, what we want to do is analyze cost. So we're now in analyze cost. On the analyze cost page itself, we see a metrics section on the left hand side. So that is showing us that the total cost for the entire project portfolio that's been selected would be just under $20 million. The number of projects selected is 23. And if we were to run all 23 projects, then we would achieve 100% of strategic value. Below that, we see the first out of the box report that's available in the portfolio analysis component, which is strategic alignment. So what we see with the light blue bars is how important a specific driver is. So expanding into new marketing segments, we can see that that is quite an important driver. What the blue bar indicates is how much spend has been proposed within the current portfolio. So looking at how important that driver is, I would say that we're underspending on that particular driver. Whilst on improving customer satisfaction score, we can see that it's a not a very important driver, but we are overspending on it. The second out of the box report is the efficient frontier. If I click onto that, we can see the strategic value identified on this axis over here, and below that we see total cost. So at the moment we're achieving 100% of strategic value, but we are spending the maximum amount of money. And what we see here under projects is a list of all of the selected projects within this current portfolio. Now, as an organization, we might not have that much money to spend. We might say that we've got just under 13 million. So if I modify that, and if I recalculate, so now that we've done that, we see that the number of projects selected has dropped from 23 down to 16, and strategic value, rather than being 100%, is now just over 86%. And if we look below, then we can see the efficient frontier has also changed. That's where the baseline was versus where we are currently. If we look at the project list, we can see that there are some selected projects, but if we minimize that, we can see that these particular projects have been now unselected. Quite often in organizations, you will have situations whereby projects need to be forced back in, and you can accommodate that by clicking here. We can say that the data parsing tool needs to be forced back in either for compliance reasons or because it's a pet project. We'll say it needs to be put back in for compliance reasons. If I do that, if I recalculate, and by doing that, you see that the number of projects selected is now 15 as opposed to 16. Strategic value itself does also drop by about 1.5%. And if we go to the project list itself, we'll see that the data parsing tool project is now moved back in for compliance reasons. But if I scroll down, you see which two projects have had to move out to accommodate that. Now what we can do at this stage is save this as a scenario. So we can call this the 12 million force-in. If I click OK, what we're able to do then is actually compare the baseline scenario to the one that we've just created. So there's the baseline, there's the one that we've just created, and we see respectively how many projects are selected and what the strategic value would be and what the total cost of those portfolios would be. The next thing that we need to do is analyze the resources. So we know that with the budget that we have in mind, we can run up to 15 projects. But how many resources do we have? So let's click on Analyze Resources. The first thing that you notice is that the number of projects selected is now 9 as opposed to 15. So we can see that these are the 9 projects that have been selected, and these are the 6 that have been pushed out. The reason they've been pushed out is because we probably have a resource shortfall at some point. So let's have a look at the requirements details. Within requirements details, we see resource availability and we see a list of all the project requirements. So in resource availability, we can see that between September to February, we have some type of shortfall with some of these roles. To find out which roles, I need to scroll down. And we can see that the first shortfall arrives in September with the legal department, whereby there is some type of shortfall. To see which project that's affecting, I go down to project requirements, I minimize the selected field, get rid of the projects that haven't been selected. And if I look at a new office development project, I can see that there is a requirement for a legal resource, and this is where the shortfalls are arising. So I need 1.35 full-time employees, whereby in September we haven't got enough. The first time that I will have enough legal resources available will be December. So what I could do at this point is decide to postpone this project. In order to do that, I click on the Gantt chart, and I simply have the original start date listed there, which is July 2010. What I can say is that I actually want this to start in December. Once I've done that, if I hit recalculate, and here we can see that by doing that, the new office development project has been moved in, as has the ECRM solution project. However, the IT vendor system rollout has been moved out. But if I view the metrics again, we can see that the number of projects selected has increased from 9 to 10. Another thing that I could do is actually choose to hire resources. So let's say I'm thinking as a department head that I want to take on another 2 resources. I could put that in, hit recalculate, and automatically the number of projects selected goes up again from 10 to 11. To see which resources are being recommended for hire, I simply click on reports and I click on the hide resources report. So it's recommending 2 resources, and they are legal and marketing. It also outlines which projects they would impact and what the cost would be for those resources. Now, that was a very high level look at portfolio analysis within Microsoft Project Server 2010. There's a lot more to it, and if you would like to learn more, then please visit our website, wellingtonppm.co.uk, and you can request a call back and we could set up a one-on-one demo to go into more detail. Now, PPM in a Box is our pre-built Microsoft Project Server 2010 deployment package. It's designed to get your organization up and running within 12 days at a fixed price. To get full details on the package itself, then please visit our website, which is wellingtonppm.co.uk. On the website, you can also request a call back, and a member of our team will be in touch with you within 24 hours.